Welcome back to the GLF 2018 in Bonn. I'm Natasha Elkington, your host for today, and I have with me Tony Simons, who's the Director General of the World Agroforestry Center. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Thank you. So tell us, why is the Global Landscapes Forum an important event?
The Global Landscape Forum had its origins in Forest Day, and that was because forest was very marginalized, and in the 2007 Bali COP we wanted to elevate the importance of it and connect it with climate change, with biodiversity and desertification. And so it was a great showcase to be able to do that. However, because it was a single sector, it wasn't as inclusive as perhaps it could have been. And it has evolved through Agriculture and Forest Day and then to now Landscape Day to be much more inclusive of all of those elements of a landscape. So it's important now as we gather here in Bonn at the Global Landscape Forum to reflect on all of those inclusive things. Mm-hmm. So what's a landscape? Well, there are political landscapes, so areas of jurisdiction, areas of land, things to do with tenure and ownership of the resources in them. Then there's the things that all the scientists study, the biophysical landscapes, the natural capital within them, all of those elements that we're trying to leverage to get a return from our landscapes. We then have the social landscapes, and it's great to see the youth here, the NGOs, the marginalized indigenous groups contributing that human social dimension. And then also, we're just about to go into an exciting session on finance, there's the financial landscape. Right. How do we turn all of this into financial capital for countries, communities and others to prosper? And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is the institutional landscapes. Right. And GLF, or Global Landscape Forum, is about connecting those institutions, about bringing those partners together. I think probably the very early forest days and the agricultural days were like a market, but everyone was a seller. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be a very vibrant market if everyone is behind a stall selling something and there's no buyers. And perhaps this particular conference is recognizing that maybe GLF was going a little bit to now we had buyers, but everyone was a buyer. Mm-hmm. And people weren't sharing as much as they could or offering it, they were coming to take, okay? And when you have a whole lot of people taking and there's not a lot of givers, it's again out of balance. Right. So I think this GLF is really swinging that pendulum back to a more balanced set of buyers and sellers, people that wanting to share ideas, share concepts, share opportunities, share partners, and connect with those very legitimate high-level institutions and organizations.
Great, thank you. So in terms of agroforestry, what is the role in accelerating progress towards sustainability?
So agroforestry is about the use of perennials in mixed systems, about the role of fruit trees, timber trees, medicinal trees, tree commodities, and how they interact with natural ecosystems and habitats, annual crops, and the farming systems that support them. So agroforestry has been around for 40 years this year. It's our 40th anniversary, and the term agroforestry was created at the same time that ICRAF was. It was contemporaneous, based on an IDRC study. And what that time was, it was a time of just after Stockholm Environment meeting in 1972, there was a firewood crisis, the establishment of UNEP, the environmental issues, a lot around the wonder and magic of home gardens around the world and people's appreciation of trees. And so what we're seeing in the face of all of this climate change, we're worried about a 1.5 degree world, a 2 degree world, possibly going to 3 last week we heard. Well, I can tell you, if we end up with a 4 degree world, we're going to have a 4-letter outcome. And we've got to prevent that. And when you look at how the cooling effects of a tree, you can stand under the shade of a tree and it's 2 to 6 degrees cooler than around. And that's where crops and farming systems will thrive, and that will lead to ecosystem health as well as greater human health and nutrition elements. So we see agroforestry as filling many of the needs of the pressing global challenges we have around climate change, around poor nutrition, around giving real livelihoods to people that are in those rural areas. And when you think about when trees first emerged on this world, the climate was 10 degrees warmer, and CO2 was 10 times concentration what it is today. And it was trees that took that carbon out of the atmosphere and made the planet habitable for mammals, including humans, and their destruction will also lead to our destruction.
Right.
And so nothing is better than a tree at bringing up water from depth, sequestering carbon, providing a framework for biodiversity, giving shade, products, nutrition, and that's the magic and value of trees. So try and find a person who doesn't like a tree, who doesn't respect it. It's in so many communities, and harnessing those through science, through connection, through people wanting to be in charge of their own destinies through productive rural landscapes and connecting with others is a key part of agroforestry, and one that we're extremely proud to be showcasing here in the Global Landscapes Forum in Bonn.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was really interesting to speak with you, and I've learned quite a bit actually in this
Super.
short 5 minutes.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
Tony.
you.